In the early 1980s, as the Tanting-based Institute for Further Education replaced Form 6s at Grenada's top secondary schools, Principal George Brizan, a national icon soon to play an even greater role in the nation, was telling his impressionable A-level freshmen that they were the cream of the crop on whose shoulders the young nation had a right to look to for future plaudits, for progress, and for fame. Brizan, a true progressive, would not have minded if the same speech, slightly altered, was delivered to the class of the Grenada Technical and Vocational Institute, only a few yards away. These youngsters were a little less academic, more interested in being tradesmen, arguably a more practical choice for a young nation than a raft of lawyers and psychologists. A few years later, 20 miles up St. George and the St. John coast from the IFE and the GTVI, a smaller group of inductees headed west and were to be given a similar introductory speech, probably with more similes than Brizan's oratory, but with definitely less fanfare. Sidney Charles was an affable Trinidad-born churchman, and his message to the young students would have been likely on the value of technical skills to them and to the nation. This was the quiet birth of the New Life organization.
An institution for rejects, a school for dropouts. This was what the unkind echoes seemed to say anyway. Back then, it would have been a waste of time to debate who would be the outstanding successes if evaluated 10 years after graduation. Conventional education and conventional graduates always won out. Just look at the Allen Scholar Prize, set up for academics. However, these days, technical and vocational skills are holding their own in results, and now a growing appeal in the country. The New Life organization has become a highly respected institution that has plugged, or maybe unplugged might be a better term, a worrying need for the country.
From the start, we had a board of directors, and we had an executive director. First was Sister Reiner. She loved. Then you had Teddy Victor was for a time, gave up that. Then you had a few people. Mrs. Bernadine was one of them. She was the education minister. She said, I learned a lot from New Law and its dynamic, what its goal and what it's, because you see, not everybody has the same charisma. And very often the education system doesn't help the people at the bottom sufficiently. So she did so. Then we had another sister, then Mr. Duncan, and now we have Margaret. She's a powerhouse. She's a nun. She's a wonderful person.
Teaching in a school that is located in a rural community with less facilities, less opportunities than those who are in the cities, more or less resembles what New Law is doing here. And so a lot of the challenges I heard in the school where I taught are not so different from some of those that I am encountering here. But the good thing is that working in that environment and working very hard to ensure that these were young people who they thought, oh, they were less endowed in the sense academically they couldn't perform like their colleagues in the cities, and then to bring them to that same level of performance. For me now, it feels like I'm all the way back home where I started working.
We use as our motto to turn swords into plowshares. From the start, therefore, New Law has been what we call God-centered and human-hearted. And we said we would do our best for the young people of Grenada who suffered so much from the evils of the revolution.
Now, I always say this on every platform that I get that. But for Nulo, the crime situation in Grenada would be different. Grenada would be a different place. I mean, a lot of us sometimes are a bit apprehensive, we're a bit fearful when we are going to some of the Caribbean countries that have high crime rates. Grenada would have been like that, but for Nulo. But this is something that I don't think people are very much aware of it and appreciate it. I don't think so. There are individuals that do appreciate that and they do their little bit in their own individual way, but we are yet to see that national recognition and that national appreciation for the staff that work here at Nulo.
Nulo has always had an interesting mix of Grenada's top educators, administrators, people whose commitment has nothing to do with love of money or profit.
It was the toughest place I had worked, no two ways about it, you know. Lots, what you'd imagine, a large group of young men like that. It was predominantly male at my time. It was 75% male, 25% female. But I mean, every day there were incidents. You had to hold firmly and be on top of things very firmly all day long so that the correct teaching and learning could take place and they could progress in their various areas. And the reason why I got involved there was because I came home and I wanted to make a meaningful contribution. I had been working with the Ministry of Education and the government of Grenada at the time, which was the revolutionary government, as an advisor in science and technology. And when I came back, I left after that period, 1975, I left Grenada again, having been here between the period of the revolution. I came in 81 and left again in 85. When I came back in 1989, I thought I needed not to go back into the ministry and get involved in the bookwork, but indeed look for a project or program that I could make a meaningful contribution to. People were really struggling to get somewhere. I went out, I was invited out to see the project, which I did. And once I visited, I knew that is where I would want to be, because that was where the tire met the road. It was where people needed opportunity and chance.
During the time that I spent there, we were able to do some external exams, such as City and Guilds English and Math, especially for the students who were in the hospitality program. But presently they've reached the stage where people are doing external exam in computer technology and also the National Training Awards and National Vocational Qualifications. So that really is, the situation is at a point where the students are becoming more and more competitive or able to compete in the work environment in Grenada and of course within the wider region.
A life-changing experience, especially in my own country, where you're not aware of these factors. You just assume everybody has the ability to get to a school, convent, wherever they go in, and that things are going. Not at all, not at all. There's a percentage of people who are in a desperate struggle to really make something of themselves. And as we know, the education is critical in that regard.
The world is now realizing that it is not enough to know, it is as important to do. And Nulo in a way is combining both of those things. And the old feeling that many people had that Nulo was a place for people who had no brain or very little of it or didn't use it well, that is certainly being dismantled. And people are coming to realize that students, a number of students who are presently and have been at Nulo are students who have managed quite well in the so-called academic life in secondary school and are choosing to do practical skills to make them more employable and to build their self-esteem. Because I think we should all understand that the most important part of the whole Nulo program is the ADP, the Adolescent Development Program, which concentrates on building core skills and building people in addition, and then moving on to the additional other areas.
Newlow's timely entry into Grenadian lifeblood was modeled after Serval, the Trinidad and Tobago Life Center, started by the Caribbean Catholic leader Father Gerald Pantin. Not that it matters. We gave them so much. Why not take inspiration for a life-changing institution?
In order to work at Newlow, you have to be versatile, you have to be flexible, you have to be able to understand people, and you have to be a people's person. Then it was very different to now. I can assure you that at the beginning, you have to be able to multitask, because when Newlow got started, there were not much instructors as we have now, and the jobs demand of you that you are able to do more than one thing. Sometimes you are in the classroom, sometimes you're out helping outside with the skill areas. That's what it was like then. Now we are more in a situation where everybody that comes in have to specialize. And the trainees that we get right now, they are very different, I could assure you that. Prior to now, you have persons who used to cooperate a lot. You speak to them and it's easy to get them to move. Now it's much harder.
Well, I would say that it is the most satisfying experience for me, because before becoming the skills coordinator, which I've been for the past 4 years, I was the hospitality arts teacher, and just having to come in contact with the students and they coming in more or less empty, self-esteem low, their confidence are low, not knowing what to expect, and you taking them from one level and bringing them to the next, it is the most satisfying and rewarding experience. For me, when I get a phone call saying that Miss, I'm employed here, that is a plus. It's better than a paycheck.
Quite a bit of attention was paid to that, the personal development of staff. And I remember we sent Peter James to do the ADP program in Trinidad. I myself had done it, and that was an experience because, of course, Newlow is a offshoot of Serval in Trinidad, yes. And Serval under Father Gerald Pantin. So I spent a couple of weeks down there just living on the compound, going to classes, looking at them, looking how they manage, following on with the ADP in Trinidad. Mm-hmm. And when I came back up now, that gave me a good idea of how to further develop what was here.
You know, we have an opportunity for everybody, any and everybody who wants to come to Newlow to learn a skill. We have an opportunity for them to do that. We have persons who would have finished, graduated from secondary school. In some cases, some people would have gone to TAMCC and they do come here. We have others who haven't even finished primary school. So we have a wide range of persons. What we look for is that once the individual is willing to want to improve him or herself, we give that person a chance.
A lot of the times children go into technical skills and not able to cope, right, because they don't know how to work along with others. So what I do is to encourage them to be the best that they can be. So we talk about things that will help them to be better persons, how to respect themselves, how to respect others, how to aim for what is high, right? And not just what is high, how to continue to grow and develop to be the best young person that they can be. One of the things I want you to note is that at Newlow, we try not to compare them with other people. But what we try to let them know is that they have their own potential. So instead of looking at what others can do what they know that they can do and achieve the best for them, not for others.
Shakespeare's Brutus said there's a tide in the affairs of men, which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune. Only a beautiful way of saying, make the very best of what you have when opportunities present themselves. Enter the Maria Holzer Society, an exceptional Caribbean-based altruistic group looking to provide means and support to inspired organizations. Indeed, there is a tide in the affairs of men.
A lot of you know we look after young people. But for those of you who don't know, Dr. Pierre also look after young people, even younger than those we look after here. And there's so much responsibility on her, and for her to make the first move to us in order to secure the future of the young people who are under her care, it made us feel very, very much honored. And that was the beginning of the conversation. In 2014, we had a whole team of members coming from the Maria Hoda Memorial Trust from Barbados to come and see for themselves what Dr. Pierre had told them. So the story was just like the Samaritan woman that says, you know, we believe, yeah, we have seen what you have told us, but now we have come to believe, not just because you told us, but because we have seen it with our eyes. And I remember the comment Colette made that day after they toured the facility, and she said, this is something we would like to support. And that was the beginning of the conversation in 2014, February. I remember that day very well. And since then, the conversation never stopped.
This is actually my first visit to NULO, to the site. I've seen pictures of how the site has developed, and I'm very excited with the Governor General to cut the lovely blue ribbon that I can just see in the background. But I was very much inspired by my niece Colette and fellow trustee about her enthusiasm for this project. And the first thing she did when we walked in, she said, let me show you what it looked like. And she took me around there, and it was just and that excitement of that moment. And I can see from what was to what is, and what was can also we can look at making further investment here, which I'm sure we will do.
What an incredible day. What an exciting time for NULO. The Maria Holder Memorial Trust, a registered charity in Barbados, is engaged in tremendous work. Their donations have had a direct impact and positive impact on the lives of vulnerable people in our region. The Trust works in the areas of education, health, poverty alleviation, and disaster relief. Its target groups are children, youth, the elderly, and those in difficult or vulnerable situations. They are open to assisting new and innovative projects aimed at helping those in need, such as NULO, because their original focus was on education, and now they have expanded outside of their real education into NULO, which is skills development. I commend the Maria Holder Memorial Trust for their generosity, compassion, and thoughtfulness in reaching out in such a tangible and meaningful way to the most vulnerable people of our Caribbean countries, and that includes Barbados. I am especially pleased that Grenada continues to benefit from this organization.
In grateful appreciation to the Maria Holder Memorial Trust for your generous financial donation to NULO towards the Maria Holder Hospitality Center. We could not have done it without you. Thank you very much.
NULO's young students have risen to the challenge. A mixed bunch of extroverts and nerds, budding scientists and technical whiz-kids, prize-winning chefs of tomorrow. Yet in many ways, the kids you'll find in regular secondary schools may be a little wiser through experience. Future leaders of tomorrow.
My interest in plumbing, I think, actually I did healthcare, childcare, but I think having plumbing as a skill, because if you go out there, you go get like a job maybe. Although I could be doing healthcare somewhere, opportunity come up. It's like I have a job and then still have plumbing on the side. I don't regret doing plumbing.
Nothing wrong with doing plumbing. You make you call other people to do this for you, your skill to do things for yourself.
The hospitality industry in college is totally different to what is it now is in NULO. They're more focused on theory parts, you know. And I am a person that like hands-on work.
Right.
I'm more skillful. So that is the reason why I chose NULO over college. So I didn't complete college, but I complete NULO.
It's teaching you more about the outer work and how to face everything out there in life, because life is not very easy these days.
I started working here in 2010 in St. Andrew's Life Center, which is about life skills training. And life skills is far different from what they do in PAMIS. We do anything that is good for life, how to cope with life situations, and yes, all that concerns life. As long as you have life, you need these skills we teach here to be able to go on with life.
Hollis Mr. Killer Map is NULO's most well-known graduate.
Who approached me, this beautiful woman? She said, excuse me, could I ask you a question? Me say, sure, baby, please just prolong. The woman turned, she asked me where me come from. Say me come from down the Spice Island. I could have see it in a she eye. She already want this island boy. She hold me hand, she pull me on the dance floor. Hold me tight and she won't let me go.
So right now we are at NULO, and this was an institution that I once was a part of, with a student here. And I remember my class being downstairs here. I did electrical and I did plumbing. Here used to be the library, ADP, over in that section. We had hospitality arts over here, woodwork at the back, plumbing over there. Yeah, and now it's being developed. I see we have a new building here. Feel good to see that. And I want to tell people that coming to this institute actually did a lot for me, Helped me focus on the skills that I have. Because before this, I never knew that I could build anything or put anything together or maybe fix anything besides my music. Now today, while I'm building my studio, I can literally actually do everything, a piece of everything, Piece of electrical, piece of plumbing, plaster walls, and I'm literally building all the workstations and putting down the wooden flooring and doing all of those things, and actually study also the acoustic treatment and stuff like that. So I'm building all of those things on my own, and this is one of the places that gave me those skills. So besides being an artist, your skills is very important. So I just want to say to everybody that NULO is not just for the dropouts or whatever it is, it's for you to develop your skill. And don't let nobody feel that having a skill is something wrong, because where the Prime Minister live, he need a mason, a plumber. You understand what I'm saying? He need an electrician to build that place. We are the builders, we are the creators, the skillful people, So feel free to come here and to further your education in your skill sets.
I feel so blessed when I see trainees like Mr. Killer, knowing that I was one of those instructors that influenced the positive values, because you might not imagine, some trainees that came to me in early times, the self-motivation was way down there, yes, and sometimes they come and they start giving little problems, and you have to pull them aside and talk to them and, get them on board with what you want to, right, and that was what I did with him, and today I can see great things, yes? So I'm proud of my product. Yes?
Of course. Blessed love and thanks.
That's one of my products. I'm very proud of it.
Blessed love and thanks. Blessed love and thanks. My mother sent me to private secondary school. You understand? And I mean, the education was good. It was coming in. I went to New York. I came back as a young man, and everything that I saw outside there wasn't what it was on television. It was different for me. So I came back home a little disappointed. But when I came here to NULO after that trip, I came here to NULO, and when I came to NULO, I said, you know what? The education in school and the education here was two different kind of education. The education here is more about you and your skill, what you could do, you understand, with the hands and mind. as I settled down, I realized that the teachers at New Low really had a hard job. That is one of the first things, because I grew up with mommy, so you had to have respect. You know, my upbringing was a real strict one. You know, so when I see the work that the teachers had to do or what they had to deal with, you know, it was I could remember that. I said, boy, wait, now these teachers have it hard here, you know, because as I say, the children at that time, you know, is bigger kids, you know, more mature teenagers. Miss Anne Antwine, you know, she was she's this kind of calm person, you know. Well, you didn't get to really spend the day with her, you know, but you see her very often, you know, making sure and checking that everybody's all right, make sure the school's running right, you know. So she was a very good person. Getting to know her after New Law, I realized why she was so, you know, humble and had that kind of character about her. She's a very, you know, spiritual person and stuff like that. So she was a good person.
New Law officials are a little modest when talking about their grads. They leave it up to the employers.
Well, Jason started, he came out of New Law and he worked one or two places here and there. And he started with me as a commie cook. And I spotted a tremendous natural talent with Jason. So I got him working with a lot of my foreign chefs. Then I sent him overseas, numerous occasions on various stages, 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, to work at top restaurants in England and to expose him to what our DNA is, so to speak, in Spice Island Beach Resort. And then he developed himself into a fine young man, and today he's my head chef, and he has been my head chef for the last 4 or 5 years. And prior to that, he was my senior sous chef. So he came up very fast, and I spotted the natural talent in him. So credit has to be given initially to where he got his initial training, which is the New Law organization. The rest is history, but I have to give New Law a lot of credit, because that is where he got his culinary introduction to the culinary skills that he now has. And I'm so happy that he is my head chef in a AAA 5-diamond resort in one of the top hotels in the world. And I'm very happy.
First of all, they provide me with the basic skills. That's in the food and nutrition department. Right. When I entered New Law, it was around 92, two courses, which was Mason and food and nutrition. Okay. And I found that I started off with the masonry, but I found that the food and nutrition, I love cooking. And I think the cooking will take me really further. Right. So I said, well, I will finish the course and bounce around St. George's, all the different restaurants, just to get to know all the different cuisine and things like that. Right. And then I'll hit the hotels. Right. So I did that. I worked at Rudolph, I worked at Nutmeg, all the modern, yeah.
Going way back.
Yeah. So, and then I hit Rex. I learned a lot there with Indian food, Thai food, all the things like that. But the money was not my thing. So I left there and I came to Spice. Right. And there, Spice, when I met Sir Royston, he told me, in here, the sky's the limit. But I told him, I said, I don't think it's the limit. I think that's where you lift off. Right. And he saw my performance. He said I was really interested in cooking. And he sent me a couple of times away to study different proper restaurants, things like Michelin star, one rosettes, things like that. Yeah, and I came back because once he sent me, you know that I'm going like a sponge. And when I come back, just to extract. So there he saw leadership, he saw skill, and then gave me. I started off at the bottom. Yeah, I started there just as a demi chef, and I worked my way up. I worked a lot with different foreign chef, executive chef, and there I just keep sucking from them. Yeah, different skills, different techniques, and I took it off from there. And now I'm in charge of running the kitchen, staff of 32. Plus I have my assistant, ex-senior chef, sous chef, Brenda. Yeah, and she's helping me doing an excellent job.
I started at 88. I became permanent the 15th of November in 88. I started doing dishes. Yes. I started doing dishes. I do the pots, I do the plates and all of that. And in and between, I came up to the chefs and assist. Try to do sandwiches, ask questions, and try to do little things with them and walk along with them. And by then, I came up to be working in the pantry. That's with the salads and so, sandwiches and so. After that, I work along with all the different chefs that came. Then I was promoted to chef de partie. Worked there again, did my best. I started doing nights. And then another chef came on and he said, well, let's try you on another field because you're good at that field now. So I came on to the morning. So I started doing breakfast and I started doing lunches, which I'm doing up to this day. So, with that, I worked doing barbecues and all of that. We have barbecues on a Sunday. I work on the barbecue grill, making sure the guests are happy. Then I was promoted again to junior sous chef.
Brenda started out of New Low as a young lady, and her route was the same. She's been on a few overseas stints. She's trained in my kitchen under foreign chefs, and she is just fiercely loyal, fiercely talented. She has a lot of good kitchen management skills, and she's been my senior sous chef for the last 2-3 years.
First went to New Low. I left McDonald College, and at the time I didn't have anything to do, so my mom said, well, you have to find something to do. I went to New Low. I enrolled to do sewing. And in and out of the sewing class, I decided, one day I went into the kitchen and the young lady who was there needed some assistance in helping in the tuck shop. So I started sneaking out and going to the tuck shop and helping out. But I must say, it has been well, and I think at the time we didn't have much at New Low, but we make use of what we had, and today I see what it has done for me because I'm here since '88 up to this day. So I would say it was good being there. And I will encourage anybody who wants to be in that field to go there. That would help them. And once you have a love for that or passion for that, for cooking, you will make it there.
I have a lot of them who pass through New Low, and I find that the grounding that they get in New Low is extremely well. And I believe that the way New Low is going, which is revamping its whole organization, bringing it up a lot of notches, thanks to a lot of donations they've been getting, contributions, grants from outside organizations, and they are up to speed and they are where we would like to see them in terms of becoming relevant. But more so today, by having that big upgrade, which I'm sure you've seen what is happening, through grants, it provides the opportunity to better train a lot more young individuals to take their rightful place in one of Grenada's 3 main sources of income. As we know, tourism, agriculture, and manufacturing. I hire New Low grads on an ongoing basis. I have, at the end of every term, I bring in New Low grads, or not grads, New Low students to do a stage in my hotel for 6-8 weeks every year. And then I choose the best ones that I think can fit into my organization. So this is ongoing with NULO in particular, and of course other organizations, training organizations, because you know, you do have turnover and you are still looking for good quality students coming in who graduate. So I take them in, even some of them after 1 year, they come down, they do a 6-8 weeks stage with me. They come back when they graduate. If I know that I am seeing something out of you, I give you the opportunity and hire you.
A lot of them do make a change in their lives as they come through here, which we do appreciate. And that is one thing that keeps me personally going. I can't give up on them. Some of them may give trouble, but with time, you see them changing. Or when they finish NULO, you see who they have changed to become, and that gives me great joy. I can't give up. I don't want to take any slack from any of them, but I know definitely one day they're going to make it.
It reinforced my openness and freedom to life, and my value of people, that each person has a gift. Because when I saw what the students had done from scratch and had made it themselves, you know, most of them have qualified themselves, past students that you never thought, you know, they have established their own personhood and their own position in life, and they have shared that in their different villages. So across Grenada, you know, in fact, there's one who phoned me a few years ago, and he's now employed, he told me, with some big Chinese construction in building and going on in St. Lucia, he told me. And as soon as he's finished that, he understands they're coming to Trinidad, he's coming back to see me. So, you know, they've kept in touch. They've realized that NULO, not me in particular, but NULO gave them the opportunity, and that's where Bishop Charles, his vision was to be able to see their need. The words he used was to meet the needs of the disillusioned youth of Grenada, because the CORD regime had built up their hopes to, you know, a certain way of life and improvement of life, as they thought. But also being in St. David's Secondary School, St. David's is the political heart of Grenada. And the young people there did not take it, sit down to take it. You know, they just lived for their country and their belief. So it made me realize that every person, every even section of the populations, each students coming from different parts of Grenada had something to offer to the whole. And that for me has kept that sense of openness to life. And now, at this stage, I realize that's what life is about. Life is oneness. Life is love. You know, once they shared from their heart whatever they had, and they bring in whatever little they had at home. They used to grow lettuce. We had a competition, and in the old boots or old shoe, anything that they had, fill it up on a big head of lettuce on top, you know, and it made them realize there's that creativity, that sense of who they are within them, to be able to, although at the time I didn't know that by reading, or it's just something that opened in life, and look back and realize since that what I believed and saw written then confirmed the whole essence of what life is about. Early part, like Reverend Peter King of the Presbyterian Church, he died early, in a year or two. And eventually the one from the Methodist Church, the Anglican Church, you know, the last person and the strongest person to stay on was Lloyd Noel. And I wrote him a year or two ago to thank him again, as I look in hindsight, only to discover that he had died a few months before, and I hadn't known. But and Teddy Victor died too in the course of time. So I think I must be the last Mohawk. So.
I've had the cause to shed a lot of tears. I remember one graduation. so much trainees, but getting up there to say thank you to Miss O'Farrell for what I've done for them. By the way, I was just doing what I'm supposed to do, just being the teacher, supporting them in whatever way I can, and just them getting up there on the stage and saying thank you, and their little gifts sometimes, you know, and some of them just pick up the phone to call and say, Miss, I just want to say thank you for helping me along the way. You've really made a difference in my life. That is so satisfying. Sometimes my mom would say to me, oh, I met one of your trainees in Grenville, and they just tell her how much they appreciate me, and this often gives me a lot of goosebumps.
The skills issue for me is critical. We are in fact now in the fourth industrial revolution, and if you look at the Caribbean and you think about skills, and I find the World Economics Forum Global Competitive Index a useful framework to have this conversation. Skills is an area where we are very much behind in the region. I have said it before and I say it again. I am deeply concerned about our obsession with subjects rather than skills. I find it difficult to accept that we could go on and on for bragging rights about who gets the most subjects in our schools and not worry about how we connecting with the labor market and what these children are going to do. These students are going bright as they are when they finish school. Because what I see before me is rising unemployment, especially amongst our youth. In many of our countries, the youth unemployment rate is double the national average. So that concerns me, and for me it is very clear that skills is an area. So you can go into some countries and you still can't find plumbers, you still can't find masons. The really good ones are in high demand, and the other ones, well, let's just not talk about that.
On behalf of the New Life organization, the board of directors, the management, staff and trainees, both past and present, we would like to express our sincerest gratitude, first and foremost to God for how far He has brought this organization, for the lives He has enabled us to touch, and our own lives being touched in the process. We would like to say a big thank you to the government of Grenada, most especially to the Honorable Emmeline Pierre, Honorable Pamela Moses, to the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell and the administration for responding to our calls for support for NULO. The government has reached out to us in a way that we are really appreciative of. And we also appreciate the collaboration, the collaborative hand that government has extended to us in the skills training programs. In a special way, also would like to say thank you to the Maria Holder Memorial Trust. Just a year ago, we had only the hospitality center. Now, through a second project sponsored by them, we have the whole facility completed, and the downstairs now houses the hospitality bakery room, store room. There is a place for IT test center. We have the computer engineering department, the healthcare, with a sick bay and a private meeting room. None of these would have been possible without the support of the Maria Holder Memorial Trust. And so we say a big thank you to you, Mr. Christopher Holder, and the whole team. We really appreciate the love that you have shown NULO, and we really look forward also to more. We also like to thank all the businesses and the companies that support our trainees, both for internship and for full-time jobs. Please continue to support us, and we will be more than encouraged to continue doing more with the young people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. God bless all of you.
Palmist, the home of NULO, lies on the western side of our island, literally on the coast. A beautiful journey for those coming up from the capital, and a ropey, winding and unwinding, twisty road for the students commuting from the interior. However, for those from Guave, Grand Roy, Concord and other parts of St. John, NULO is now part of their epidermis. A living, breathing pore that has produced super chefs Jason and Brenda and superstar Hollis, and so many more among us shining so brilliantly. So go west, young man and young woman.